Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video, and this might be the first successful piece of art I've ever created, so I'm incredibly proud of it, and I'd like to talk you through how I created it basically. So it's a picture of an avocado, and I wanted to use this to kind of get used to digital painting where I'm not really drawing anything and I'm just layering different colours on top of each other. So it's to simulate actually painting, and I'm using a reference picture of an avocado. And I'm using this new brush that I've created, and it's just a simple square. It's simple, and I might do a video on how to set up brushes in Krita in the future, but I'm just doing quite a simple background with a couple of different tones, grey on grey. And the reason I chose avocados is because if you're using the correct ones, you've got this really easy gradient from green to yellow, and I thought it'd be a perfect example to practice picking colours and choosing different tones and values, because that's something I've always struggled with drawing and painting. So in order to get that bit more accessible challenge of getting those colours correct, I thought that was the right way to go. So I'm using just a very simple brush to kind of sketch the general shape that I'm going to be painting, but that's about it. Everything else is just going to be laid on top with lots and lots of layers of colour. And I've actually posted a short version of this on a couple of different platforms, and everyone seemed to like it, and a couple of people have asked to see different fruit in the same style, so I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully I can do them just as well. I don't want this to be a fluke. Part of me thinks it is, so I don't think I've cracked it yet, but I think this is a good sign of things to come. And if you've seen any of my previous videos, you know that I'm still not at a very good stage, so this should show you that anyone is capable of doing this, and everyone should give it a go. It's daunting at the start, but you fail until it becomes successful, and it will seem lucky at the start, I think, and eventually it'll become more and more consistent. So just don't give up and keep on going. So I'm using the same brush as I did before, and in order to practice different colour tones, I'm just looking at the pictures of avocados and just seeing what that base colour is, and then I can just work on top of that. And don't worry about going outside any lines or if things are the wrong colour. Thankfully we're using the digital format, so we can very easily just go back over stuff and correct our mistakes. And one thing I've learnt is try not to do small movements. Do very intentional parallel strokes to cover area, and that will give you a bit more control and make your artwork a lot more consistent. So don't just sporadically just scribble everywhere. Take that control, take your time, and just go over a couple of strokes at a time. And because the avocado skin, I guess, isn't completely brown, I wanted to try and work in a couple of different layers of colour. And because this brush kind of offers a almost transparent effect, it's not completely opaque, if that makes sense. It's not a solid colour, so if you have a faint colour on the back of it, you should kind of get that influence from the first one. And this is where the real difficulty comes in. So I know that there is a gradient from the edge into the centre of quite a deep green to more of a yellow and then kind of a straw colour, and I wanted to try and capture that. And there's absolutely no technique behind what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of poking around that colour triangle, trying to find the right shade and just layering again and again, trying to use these intentional long strokes as you would normally do with a brush. And in the final product, I really felt like the left half of the avocado was a lot better than the right, and you'll have to forgive me because at some point I forgot to hit record on my screen recorder, and probably the most interesting part I skipped over, but I'll try and explain it when we get to that point. But feel free to keep on using different colours and different shades until you get the right one you need. There's no harm in pressing undo, and what you can even do is kind of create your own little palette on the side of the picture where you can just scribble colours, and if you need to go back to them, you can always just use your colour selector tool and pick up where you left off. But as it stands, the colour on the left one feels like an avocado toast kind of colour, so I knew I was in the right place. And on the very edge of the skin to the actual inside of the avocado, I noticed that there's this very light brown colour, and I was really struggling to get the right kind of brush stroke to represent that. So it kind of seems a bit botched at the moment, but I'm hoping when I layer more colours on top of it, it will give more of that impression. And moving forward, would it be better if there was maybe some light music in the background? I've always struggled with this, and I didn't know if it was annoying and it distracted the actual commentary, but please let me know. On top of that, if you think I should include the reference picture on the side of the screen, maybe that will improve things. But what I've done here is used one of my sliders based on the previous colour that I used. So if you look underneath my colour selector, there's a couple of sliding bars, and I'm just using that because, again, I'm not very practiced in the technique, but looking at the colour, it seems to be the right kind of direction that I need to go into, but I'm not sure what the reason for that is. I know each of those bars has a different, it shows something different, so one of them might be hue, one of them might be value. Again, I don't know, I need to look into colour theory. It's been on my list for a while, but I've always been neglecting it, I suppose. But the difficulty that I'll have to experience here is how to show the depth of the recess where the pit is. So there'll be an instance where I have to show shadow and light, and that's not just going to be adding more white and black to it. It will be figuring out what colour each green turns into, I suppose. Now you're probably wondering, why am I using Krita instead of other digital art platforms? And that's because it's free and is available on any device. So I would encourage anyone who wants to get into this to give it a go. It is a bit harder on mobile devices, but extremely possible on tablets, and from what I hear, pretty decent on PC. There's a lot of helpful resources online, and there are plenty of people who would help on different forums and videos such as this. And what I'm struggling with here is to find the correct shade to give the effect of a recess and going shallower so I can develop where the seed goes and the seed itself. But honestly, I just struggle to find the appropriate color for each part of the image. And honestly, I'm getting into the part of the video where I just start rambling and running out of different things to talk about. So forgive me if it derails a bit or if it gets a bit boring. But one thing I started to think about was, if you find one piece of drawing style that you really seem to vibe with, should you continue going that way, or should you really make yourself diverse so you can explore lots of different mediums or just get really good using one technique. I guess that's one thing I'm going to discover in the next couple of months, I suppose. And this is going to be the point where my recording messes up a little bit. So you'll jump from one dodgy looking avocado to something a bit more refined. But in my next video, I assure you, I will do my best to avoid this because it doesn't really help matters on either side. But here we have it, quite different, but I hope you can see what I've done here. It's basically, I've created quite a sharp change in color on the left side, and then I've done this slightly larger, darker piece, which will kind of curve around the light a little bit. I'm not explaining it very well, but I've kind of speckled it with a bit of white to show a bit of reflection and really draw on that contrast from those darker parts to the flat surfaces as well. And now that we've done the seed recess, we're going to draw the avocado seed itself. So I'm just going to do these larger brushes in the general shape of the seed itself, fill it in with a base color, which should sit somewhere in between the darkest point of the seed and the lightest point. And I might have gone a bit too dark for this, but we're just going to create a bit of a darker border. From the left half of the avocado, you can see that there is a lot of light hitting it from the left-hand side. Therefore, the shadow is on the left-hand side as well of that seed recess. So therefore, the shadow should be falling on the right-hand side of this seed. So the lighter colors are going to be on the left, but maintaining that border around the edge. And one thing I've definitely learnt from recording over this video is I need to make these videos shorter to not only improve the quality, but to keep my commentary fresh, I think. Yes, that will involve more editing, but it's all in the name of quality, I guess. Because when I record these, I record it once, and because I don't like the sound of my own voice, I tend not to listen to it again, so I assume it's good enough, and that's something I need to work over as well. I'll have to make scripts at some point, just to give things a bit more structure and make it a bit more watchable. Now here, because I didn't get that midpoint base color, I'm having to lay over a lot more on the top of what the avocado seed color should be. So that's a bit of a drawback, but it's all practice at the end of the day, and this is purely an exercise to get better at being able to choose the correct kind of color for what I'm referencing or what I'm looking at in front of me. We're going to be touching it up with a couple more light spots as well from the light source on the left hand side. And then what we're going to be doing is adding a bit more yellow to the avocado flesh itself, because at the moment they don't even look like they come from the same fruit. So we're going to add this yellow. Not only can we then control the size of that sheet and make things a bit smoother, but we can then get that color gradient back in the right place. So one thing that you can do in digital art rather than real life art is undo and remove things extremely easily, but I'd encourage you not to do this. If you make a mistake, try and paint over the top of it, because that will just give it a lot more of an authentic look and should refrain you from just making mistake after mistake after mistake. You're going to learn from it, and they're going to be a lot more of a teaching point. But that's basically it. I'm going to add a bit more color to the skin itself. Well, I'm going to attempt to at least try and add some texture. I could probably do this by using a bit more of a lighter color, or maybe something a bit more abstract, like adding a purple or something. But it's going to be a lesson for another day. The only thing left to do now is add a bit of shade to the bottom of the picture. And that will essentially be it. But I know this has been a really awkward and long video, but please let me know if you've enjoyed it or how I could improve, because I am new to this. More so the video making itself rather than the drawing. I think I'm slowly getting there, but when it comes to creating my videos, it's like pulling teeth. It's very painful. But it's something that I'd like to work on, because it'll honestly increase my confidence outside of YouTube as well. And that's something that I need to work on. But for my next video, I'll probably be drawing strawberries in a similar style. Hopefully I can make my work a bit more consistent and edit out the video a bit, so it's not as long and you won't have to feel so awkward listening to it. Maybe I'll add some music into the background, but I wouldn't know how to start with that, because I'd have to work around a lot of copyright laws, I guess. But there we have it. I'm just going to touch up a bit to make it more look like an actual painting. So I'm going to dab some darker kind of smudges and sketches all around the edge of it. But there we have it. Avocados in a oil painting style, drawn on Krita. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, and bye.